All right, folks, just 2 minutes after here. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Hey, Garrett, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I am good, thanks. I'm going to go ahead and introduce everybody to Garrett. Garrett, I realized I've never said your last name out loud. So how do you
Oh,
pronounce your
okay.
last name?
So it's just Dandrio. Usually people want to say Dandreo is usually what they go with, but Dandrio. So simple enough.
Yeah, I was unsure if it was Dandra. In my head, it was DeAndrea all these years. So I
Okay.
just was I was adding in syllables there. So everybody, this is Garrett. Garrett lives in Boston, and he started building websites in 2012 with his brother. So they have a family-run business, which I'm sure many of you can relate to. We've got a lot of family businesses using Goodshuffle Pro. And at Compete Now Web Design, they have developed hundreds of websites over the years. Since 2012, they've become experts on WordPress, Squarespace, and other website platforms. So Good Shuffle Pro teamed up with Garrett to provide awesome websites to our users. He also specializes not only in the building of website, but website strategy overall. So how you can grow your business, making your website do more work for you. He's got a passion for working with clients to understand their goals, develop a web strategy customized to the business. And that brings us to our topic today, which is how he can not only customize a package for what your needs are, but also how he has built websites that are very different from each other, all while using our website wishlist integration, and really how he tackles doing kind of different branding challenges. So, with that, I'm going to let Garrett run the webinar and show us his top 5 ways he has created really unique brand experiences for folks' websites.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. So definitely we've been working with Good Shuffle for I think the past year and a half. So there's definitely a lot of great things you can do with the wish list, make it really use it as a good lead generation tool. So working with a lot of event rental companies, I think we've got some good tips on how to kind of maximize that on your website. So I just wanted to run through a few of those things that we've kind of learned during that time. So just going to start with kind of a brief overview about me and Compete Now. So I started with Compete Now in 2012. My brother started it when he was in college in 2009. I was working with him during that time, and after graduating, went full time. And since then, we've grown. We have several developers on staff, as well as some digital marketing people to work with SEO and social media ads and Google AdWords to kind of drive traffic to your website. We definitely specialize in WordPress websites. We can work with others, but we like WordPress the best. It's very flexible. When we build websites, it's easy for our customers to make updates on the website, especially if you're using Good Shuffle. It's great since everything's pulling right from the software itself. You don't need to worry about updating products inside of there and then also updating it on the website in a separate third-party system. So we definitely recommend using WordPress. It gives us the flexibility to customize everything to your brand, create new pages easily, who we work with. So since 2012 when we started, basically worked with any type of business that you can imagine, insurance agencies, law firms, nonprofits, do a lot of like chambers of commerce websites, even built a website for a company that manufactures caskets. So we've pretty much gone through the process of building websites to meet all businesses' needs over the years. Now, especially with event rental companies, with Good Shuffle. So we also offer our digital marketing services like social media ads, Google AdWords, and SEO. So once you have that beautiful website, you definitely want to send as much traffic as you can to it. Start getting people to submit those wish lists and start converting them. So with Good Shuffle, so we got started when one of our clients who was an existing client of ours, also an existing client of Good Shuffle, but they had a WordPress-based wish list system. So they were managing two inventories, one on the website, one inside of Good Shuffle. So they wanted to get started with Good Shuffle, so everything was just in sync and pulling automatically. So just started learning how Good Shuffle worked, was talking to their support staff a lot, learning how to create pages or customize it to their needs, and then started becoming a partner and been working with multiple or several rental companies over the past year and a half. So now I'll get into some of the tips and things that we just learned during that time. So just going to start with some basic things like colors and fonts, icons, getting all that to look like it's all part of your website and working well. And from there, we can kind of get into more advanced setup with the best way to utilize the wish list on your website is. So matching your brand is definitely important. You don't want that. It is basically a third-party integration, but it's customized inside of your website, so it can really feel like a cohesive part of the website, and it's very intuitive and easy to use. So you want to match your brand. The plugin is flexible. If CSS, you can easily change colors and fonts to make it match your brand. So everything is very cohesive with the wish list and the rest of your website, especially if you're combining other pages with the wish list integration. So if you have content and some images, then you can also include the wish list under it as part of the page without it feeling like it's two separate things. And then just using colors that stand out for key call to actions like checkout buttons, similar to what you would do with a lot of just general buttons on your website, just using those as well with the wish list. So people basically know what to do, see things that they're supposed to see pretty easily. So I want to go through some examples here, just some screenshots. So this first one here is a very clean and elegant look, a lot of white space. They have some great images. They have some more upscale products. So it kind of matched with the rest of their website. The fonts, a lot of light colors, smaller fonts. So just to kind of match it with the rest of their site, it looks good. And also kind of similar here with another client where they have professional images done for all the products. They have some more backgrounds on their images, so it isn't quite as much white space, but definitely a very clean look. You can see that the icon was moved to the top right here and it has a different style. So that kind of shows some of the customization that you can do with the plugin just for the branding wise. And then just kind of a very different example is this one, very bright and different. Their whole branding is a lot of purple and pink. They have a lot of kind of game rentals and LED games you can rent. The vibe they're giving off on the website is if you use them, you're going to have basically an awesome event, trying to give off a fun look and feel to the whole site. So when we integrated the wish list with the website, we definitely wanted to keep that in sync so everything kind of matches with the rest of the website. So we have kind of the pink buttons and some of the more bolder fonts, and obviously still great images. Everything looks good. Just kind of show you some of the flexibility that we have with the colors. And last example, just for using colors that stand out. This is where we would kind of do that. This is the product pop-up. So using a lot of the colors so it still matches, and then using like that pink color for the add to wish list button here. So that kind of stands out as soon as you see it. You can get all of your information and you can't miss the button to add it to your wish list to get started with making that. And just want to see if Karen has any thoughts on just colors and fonts and general branding.
It is just, I mean, it's amazing that like this is 5 out of 5 examples of things you can do. This is probably the most basic, but it is incredible how much you can immediately see how much of a difference those things make. The fonts, the colors, the icons. People oftentimes will look at some of our example sites that have like the hearts, for example, instead of the plus sign. And if you're maybe a little bit less in like the wedding industry, a heart doesn't really resonate as much with you. And so we always tell people like, don't get stuck on that. That is easy to change. And you're right, like there's just a difference between what this client is going for in terms of super fun, probably a lot of bar bat mitzvahs, probably a lot of, kids parties. Of course, they're going to want a different vibe. And so I just love seeing how much of a difference that makes.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and going kind of with that, with the icons. So it's kind of my second item is like icon use on the site. So you can customize that and just overall checkout feel, where a lot of customers even say specifically, like, I want it to feel like an Amazon checkout where I pick A and B products and then I submit it. And that's pretty much it. Versus if you're a company that is looking for wedding rentals and customers, like I just got married this past year, when I was looking at event rental companies, I was looking for everything, examples to see what did you have for linens, what did you have for tables, chairs, napkins, glassware. I wasn't that picky, but my wife wanted very specific things. So it's definitely good to have as much as you can on there. And that's where it kind of feels like more of a Pinterest board where you have multiple options. You can kind of add multiple to your wish list and then get on the phone with you and kind of run through like, okay, this goes better with this and put it together. Where So Amazon, you kind of have your products, and then you'll kind of have your add-ons or suggested with, and then you kind of check out. Versus Pinterest, you kind of find things that you like and just create that almost board and then finalize it with like a design expert for their event. And then we can kind of take a look at some of these examples with the icons and overall look and feel. So this is one that would be more of a Amazon type feel, a casino rental company. So they just want you to be able to pick the products that you got. You want to pick the games, and underneath here, we basically have the add-ons like background music or cocktail waitresses, things that you can add to that. So that's where you kind of pick A and B, you pick a few products because you probably don't need to browse a ton of products, and then you just get your add-ons and kind of go to that Amazon page. And in the bottom right, you can kind of see another custom icon here. So instead of a heart, we have like that cart icon. So kind of just clear, like, oh, okay, everyone's familiar with, I just got to go to, once I'm ready to check out, to go to my cart and then put in my information. So you kind of keep that consistent. Instead of the heart here, doesn't really make sense, especially if you want the Amazon style checkout. We just have the plus sign, and we also change the colors and make it a check mark once you have that in your cart. So it's pretty clear what you have added. And just another small example where they want it as simple as possible. So no icons, just they felt like some people may have been missing what to actually do with the heart or a plus sign. So we literally made it just say add to cart right on the button. So just one example of what we could do there. And this is kind of more of a Pinterest board type feel where you don't just have your one product that you're picking. You don't choose between A and B. You have a ton of different glasses and then linens and flatware that you can go through and just kind of create your board. Like, oh, I like this, I like this. You can click on multiple things and create your wish list that way. And this is just an example for the last part with one of the checkout things. So this is kind of the default wish list pop up in the side. So you can see all the products that you're adding here. Looks good with all the images and everything, and to send your wish list. And one custom thing we did do was for like an Amazon style checkout, instead of having that pop up in the bottom right there, we had it one giant pop up where they didn't want you to be able to miss it. Kind of like the Amazon checkout where you're picking a product here and there and just picking your package and then checking out. And one custom thing we did do on this site was in the header. You can see that little card icon. So we were able to add that and basically trigger the pop-up just by clicking off on that. So it isn't just tied to the bottom right of it. And Karen, do you have anything to add about anything here?
I love this example. I'm really glad that you highlighted this one because this was a client who, they have a little bit of a unique business model. Theirs is, a little bit more straightforward, a little bit more of like that Amazon type of thing. And so when they came to us, they said, well, I don't think the wish list is for me because again, a lot of our examples they were seeing were a little bit more of Pinterest type thing where, yeah, the clients start to select what they like you were explaining with your wife, maybe like selecting 2 different chargers, but like just to kind of give the salesperson her vibe. And then there was consultation and more that went on. And a lot of our clients love that. They prefer that. They want to make sure they stay involved. The wish list is more used as a conversation opener. But with this client, they said, no, I really want them to get as far as possible in the process. And I want it to feel more like that Amazon shopping experience. And so I specifically sent them to you, Garrett, because I said, if Garrett will have ideas of how to make it feel like that. And you're putting just the cart in the top and having this sort of full page splash was such a great example of, what I tell folks all the time, which is talk to an expert. They're going to know how to make simple tweaks on a website that make it feel more one way or the other. And we really do have clients who fall either way. Some of them who want, I want it to feel more like Amazon. Some of them who say like, that's my worst nightmare. I want to make sure it feels very personal experience. And we've seen that these small tweaks make the difference of what feels like a checkout and what doesn't.
Right, yeah. And definitely we had a lot of custom buttons added throughout the page too. So like right under the list, there would just be a big orange button that they wanted that says checkout or buy now, and it'll just open up this pop-up too. So just having those extra ways to kind of get to that checkout process for some things that the client really wanted.
And before you continue on, I just want to make a shout out to everyone. We do have the Q&A and the chat open. So if you wanted to drop some questions in as we're moving along, we'll make sure to cover those at the end. So be sure to chat in any of your questions if you're curious about how Garrett goes about doing these customizations, or if you have something that you've been wondering about for your website, we can try and cover that at the end as well.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so that's more so kind of design stuff to start, and now we can kind of get into displaying your products, because especially when you have a lot of products in your inventory, you want to make sure that visitors that just come to your website for the first time can actually find everything easily. So it kind of starts with organizing your categories. So as like the top level, we would usually recommend 6 to 8 categories at the top. And from there, there's a lot of different ways that we could set up the wish list to make it easy to have subcategories under there. Just like inside of the Goodshuffle system, where you have a top level category for furniture, under there you can have tables and chairs and all your other subcategories. We can do that with the website too, just so customers can actually find everything easy. And then using navigation menus and sub-navigation menus to make it easy to click around and get back and forth between them. You could probably see on a few of the screenshots before. We'll kind of go through some examples again, just to take a look at those. Also filtering and sorting. Definitely big, having the built-in filtering or custom filtering, allowing visitors to kind of condense that list they're looking at to something more specific. And just if you have several hundred products on a page, it can kind of overwhelm the visitors. And also products by location is something that we've seen before. We have multiple different locations, and dividing up your products by location, having separate pages for those, make it easier for people to find the actual products that are available in their region. So for our first example, we'll take a look at our casino rental company. We kind of condensed this down to 8 main categories. So they don't have just casino games. That's definitely what we highlighted the most of, because that's like their bread and butter with their business, the casino games and the slot machines, but also one of the categories for the others. So on these pages, we pretty much had the primary products, then also like those add-ons that I was kind of talking about underneath of that go with each category. So those add-ons could be applicable to multiple different categories, and with Goodshuffle with the tags, you don't need to have multiple products for it to appear in multiple places. You can kind of use one product and tag it in multiple ways to kind of have your inventory go where it needs to go easily. And on this site, we've looked at a couple of the inner ones before. This is kind of their base category setup, where they top level, they have locations, so 2 locations, and then we get it down into 6 primary categories. So furniture for the table, food and beverage. So you can kind of pick your top of the level category from here, and then once you get into there, it's where we kind of start organizing the inventory. So if a customer wanted to click on furniture, it would take them to these pages where they have bars, displays, love seats, seating, and chairs. So everything is separated versus having one giant page of all the furniture where tables and chairs are all next to each other. You kind of break them into different pages that are easy to navigate. So someone could go down here, find their chairs that they want to pick, then go to shelves, or then go to tables, or then they can go back and then go to the decor section and go through those subcategories as well. And then even inside of here, there's also another level where we have dining chairs, lounge chairs, and under tables, there's basically a section for accent tables, side tables, dining tables. So splitting tables, if you have that much inventory, and it's helpful to even split it into more categories, and then also sorting them by color just to keep everything a little more organized, just so it isn't like green and purple and white just mismatched everywhere. Having everything kind of in one specific order definitely helps. And similar setup with this website, where it's locations, and then at the top you can see tables and bars, seating, dining, and if it wasn't a screenshot, I could hover over it, and then you would see all the subcategories there that you could easily click between. And it's kind of like a sticky bar, so as you're going down the page, you always have this at the top. So if you scroll down through a couple hundred products, you don't need to go all the way back up just to switch categories. We kind of built that in nicely to make it easy to navigate through and find all the inventory. And they also have we built a custom filter here for filtering by vibe. So they have tagged products based on vibes. So if someone has specific vibe they're looking for their inventory or for their wedding, they can basically go to a page for dining tables and then click on, let's say, minimal and bold, and find the tables that you have categorized as minimal and bold, just to condense that list. Especially if you have a lot of inventory, it helps ease to visitors to find their products easily.
I think 2 things worth noting here. One is that it's a very common misconception that because the categories in Goodshuffle Pro are not something that are flexible, that's to make sure that people don't accidentally end up with 14 things in different categories or duplicates of categories or things like that, people assume that they cannot change the names of the categories on the website. And so that's something we've continuously had to do education on of you can have it be called quaint and clean and have a page and just choose to tag what you want on there, or choose to separate it, like you said, by an attribute. If you already have an attribute called my boho chic collection, you can just put that whole collection on a page. So I think a lot of people are starting to realize, oh, okay, so just because it's called that on the back end doesn't mean the consumer ever has to see that. Your clients would only see what you want to display, which I think is super important in terms of people understanding how to do that. I think the other really important thing to touch on here is people get really excited about stuff like vibes and collections, but then they get very overwhelmed about the idea of the work on the back end. And so one thing I just want to put as a plug is you don't have to do this on day one. I think we've seen a lot of people be really successful in building things over time. I'm going to give Jeff a shout out here, who's a client of ours who I know started by putting up just the default catalog. And then I believe over time started adding, it was near the holidays when he first did it, and added a holiday collection. And that to me is just the best possible approach, right? You don't want to waste time of not having something live, but you can start by putting up your main categories. And then from there say, okay, it's close to the holiday season today as we're recording this. But maybe if it was right ahead of graduation season, the most important thing for you to put up first would be those things. So I know I'm kind of jumping ahead on your list here, Garrett, but I think it's really important to know that you can build these things gradually. It doesn't have to be from day one. Like when you see this beautiful filter by vibe, if you want that eventually, it is fine to take a first step and have the vibes be your second step.
Right, definitely. There's a lot we can do with the wish list, where we're going now with fitting the wish list into your website. So what we just talked about, kind of the category inventory setup with the navigation and your 3 tiers of categories, organizing things, making it easy to use, is definitely probably the starting point that you would want to start with integrating the wish list. And from there, then you can take it to the next level with some of these like holiday parties pages that you were talking about. That's where we kind of have our landing pages. Landing pages are great if your inventory can be used for a wide range of services, or if they're specific to different services. So like if you had a graduations page, weddings, a corporate events page where certain inventory is better for those types of events, you could have a page dedicated to each of those on your website. So you can have your just inventory pages as well, then also have these landing pages. Here you would want to kind of feature those specific products that are the best for those events. And then you'd also just want to add a lot of relevant content to those frequently asked questions. Saying adding a lot of like relevant content for the guest questions, everything mainly for SEO, because if you have that page for corporate event rentals, then you'd want to hopefully eventually start ranking in Google for corporate event rentals. And then you have your page dedicated, built out for that specific content. You have featured products for that, that specific event type. And then also using that type of landing page in your Google ads. And so if you're targeting multiple different types of events, or it's corporate events, fundraisers, you can then drive traffic straight to that page instead of just sending them straight to a tables page. It isn't really going to make sense. You want to send them right to like a corporate events page where you have FAQs about your deliveries and other services that you offer. Just want to mention one other good thing to kind of that you could always add later is like portfolios, where you can kind of show your products in action at weddings, and just having all the pictures from those from that wedding there. Then taking the extra step to tag all those products, you could then have like a feed of like, here's all the pictures showing the products in action, and here's those products right here to start building your wish list, is something that you can do. Seasonal pages would basically be a smaller landing page that would be good for email marketing and social media ads for different times of the years, like holidays. So one example of a landing page here, back to our casino rental company. This is a casino party rentals section. So this is kind of for his corporate events page, where most of the corporate events, their most popular products are their casino rentals. And then he also has like a fundraising page, where on that page we highlight custom slot machines, and then private celebrations, we feature like the custom arcade games. For private celebrations, you're probably not renting a bunch of casinos. If you're having like a smaller event, you might want a couple arcade games. So featuring the best products for each industry on that page. And then we just link right into the Goodshuffle products. So any ads they're running for corporate events, you can send them here. On this page above and below it, we have basically a bunch of content, frequently asked questions that are good for SEO as well, and for the relevant matching in Google to get a higher score. So that's where we kind of feature that. And here's kind of an example seasonal page. This one doesn't really have any content on it, but just an example of one for Oktoberfest where they tag their products for like beer garden tables and specific events. So it'd be good for Oktoberfest. And then you can basically do this for other events and then put it on social media. Say, okay, here, looking for create an Oktoberfest event or looking for a holiday rentals. Here's like our best inventory for this. So some examples that kind of Karen was taking a look at, and I'm not sure if Karen has any comments to add.
Sorry, I gave the spoiler alert for these, but I get really excited about these, truly. I mean, like you said, when you put a header, a subheader that has the keywords that people are searching, you are massively helping your SEO. So a lot of people don't think to search for throne chairs even. They think wedding rentals or sweetheart tables or things like that. And so what if you put up a collection called like wedding rentals, sweetheart tables, et cetera, and you had things like throne chairs? Like you have to kind of play this game of what people search for. And I think that some people don't realize you can put the same item, you could put that cart on multiple pages and have it show under 10 different things that people may be searching for. And I loved your example too of the social media posts. I mean, if someone says we've got lots of rentals for Oktoberfest, and then I click that and I'm just taken to their general page, I am way too impatient for that. That'll drive me nuts, right? I want to see Oktoberfest, rentals for Oktoberfest. And so if you just send them to your general page, you're making more work for your clients. So it's really easy to put these together, and the conversion rates on these types of sites are much higher because they're scoped to how your client actually thinks.
Definitely. And that's what we're going to get into for our last point is just kind of guiding your customers to creating the wish list and being able to find what we talked a lot about, just not overwhelming them. Basically make it easy for them to find what they're looking for. If it's a specific service that if they're looking for wedding rentals, give them their wedding rentals right here. Don't make them search the website. They'll get frustrated and leave and probably find another website with it. So one of those ways to do it is to offer packages. A lot of people are doing where you're kind of doing some of this shopping for them to start with. It could be like lounge packages, or you're kind of combining tables and chairs and rugs and furniture together to kind of give them that starting point. And also if you're using some good images to combine all those products, letting them visualize it much better. So basically starting with guiding them on the wish list, you want to make sure your website's very nice and organized with the categories, not too many levels of pages. Offer packages, popular add-ons or commonly purchased together can be added on in certain situations where it makes sense. Just keeping your inventory organized. If you have a lot, sorting it by color is good just to make it look nicer and keep everything just together kind of in the same format or the same grid. And then last thing we just wanted to mention is just once you have this on your website, just make sure that you have as many call to actions as possible to actually get there. So when someone lands right on your homepage, you should really be using this as your main lead generation tool and send people to your wish list pages to start looking for products and creating their wish list. So here's just an example of a packages page. So you can kind of see how they've photoshopped this together, but it's kind of cool where you have their different products and their rugs and sofas, chairs, some ottomans, and just everything together. So just starting with this package just kind of gives someone like, oh, yep, I want that. It's professionally designed. It looks good. It has everything they need. They can use this, and then they can look at your inventory and also add additional products to it. Just giving this packages option just gives them a starting point and also allows them to visualize it. Another example with a casino rental company is just some more packages where someone might show up to the website. Well, I don't know how many tables I need, or I don't know what games are the most popular. Offer packages and give them information for that. So with these packages, you can click on them. You did a great job of adding this information. Like this package includes 4 tables. These are the options. You can swap things out if you need to. And if you're in charge of the event, you have 50 to 75 guests, like, oh, okay, this is perfect for my package. Then maybe I want to add 1 blackjack table. So on that same page, we have our packages at the top. You can scroll down and also add individual tables. So the packages give them some more information and a better idea of what they might need. Also just includes just any other like fees and anything that might be applied. So just having some good information in these descriptions is good, just to give them as much information as possible. And here's some just call to action examples right in the header. We like to always feature just get started, start your wish list. We also put it down in the footer and throughout a lot of the pages as well. If you have specific landing pages for corporate events or for whatever it is, you want to send them straight to that specific page. Where here, if it's just start your wish list or get started, we would probably send them to that top level page where the top 6 to 8 categories are, so they can just, that's where like their main starting point is, not with like a specific product in mind. And here I just have some brand examples to kind of run through, just to kind of show you how different everything can look. This is just a simple page with some just color customization, and their pictures just pulling right from Goodshuffle. Here's another packages page, which looks great. You can kind of see what's included and what's recommended. Gives them some visualization and a starting point. And here's our fun one with all the colors. So this is where their main categories are. So they have arcade games, virtual reality, LED games, and just the images and the colors really make all the difference. And here's one more of like a category page where we have dining, decor, vintage finds, great images, and then this goes right into the Goodshuffle plugin. And just want to see if Karen had any other tips that you think we could incorporate to making it easy for customers to find their products.
I mean, I just love seeing, you know, the back to back of all the different brands. It really helps highlight how different they can be. And I really like what you said about packages. Sometimes we have folks come to us and they say that they don't like doing packages, which is just sort of interesting to me, because when I ask why, there's not really a clear answer. And it's immediately followed by the frustration of how folks don't really understand what looks good together. And so to me, packages are a great way to show your expertise. If you're on more of the design and decor side, for example, packages show that you have the styling eye. And it doesn't mean that the person has to just click a package and they're going to leave with just that. They might, but oftentimes people will add, remove, swap things out. They may want more, but at least with a package, it shows that you have the design eye. It shows a little bit of your value, and it helps clients who just don't have an imagination, right? Like, you want to make it really easy for your client. You need to spoon feed them, like, this might be a really good thing for you to do. And once they see that, it opens up their mind to like, oh, wow, I could really create this lounge. Like, I would have never picked these things together. I'm not a designer, and to see it all together gets me really excited. So I have found packages to be underutilized. And when you see those great examples that you showed, it gets me excited, because like you said, they can change things later, but it's like going to Pinterest. And when you see it all together, you get 10 times more excited than if you just saw one individual item.
Definitely. And I mean, I'm a web designer. I have a good eye for websites and everything, but when it comes to finding a chair and a table that go together, I'd be completely lost. So as a user, I would love to see packages with all those items put together.
And a lot of people we're seeing a trend in people wanting to shrink down the number of vendors that they have for events. You know, they want to keep it easy. They want to have 1 or 2 vendors. And if they come to your website because of your Oktoberfest landing page, or they come to your website because they just were looking for a poker table, they might not realize that you also offer the entire kit and caboodle, or that you also offer the dealers or these other things. And so by making it a lot easier for them to just say, hey, we handle your whole bachelor party, or we handle your whole living room setup, or whatever it is you're presenting, it again takes that guesswork out of the client. It helps them understand what you do, and it makes them more likely to actually submit a wish list request, which is what you're trying to get them to do.
All right, this is actually one more example that I had of how you could fit in the wish list into your website. So for this one, they have one primary product under the custom slots, and instead of just having like a grid with one product, you can customize your website. So the Goodshuffle plugin can just fit into this right side where you have all your content on your site about promoting it, and then you just have your product on the right, just to kind of show you how the website really fits in, or the wish list fits pretty seamlessly into the website overall. So for next steps with your wish list, so if you're not already using the wish list integration or Goodshuffle at all, you need to get the integration and then the best starting point is to kind of wireframe the setup. So basically take a look at your inventory and figure out what are my 6 to 8 categories, what subcategories do I need under that, and figure out the solution for that. When we work with our clients, we basically take a look at their inventory, make suggestions, kind of figure it out together. And then from there, as you're building out the wish list, building out those pages, we always have our client just inside, since all the images and descriptions are pulling right from Goodshuffle, they'll be working on images and descriptions. Well, and since that pulls right into the website, kind of work together at the same time. And once your wish list is built out and working, that's when you can really start working on your landing pages, your seasonal pages, use it for marketing, and then start looking at SEO in Google AdWords and social media. SEO would be more of your long-term strategy where you really need to optimize your content, add a lot of content specific to different event types or products, add some content to your category pages as well. Just optimize it for your location areas, your service areas. And from there, just send traffic to your pages and add more landing pages, add portfolio posts, just feature your products and just keep building up content. That would be the best for SEO. And then just having those optimized pages, also using them in Google Ads and social media just to send traffic to a more dedicated page for specific products. And so those are my tips. I have some more information on our Goodshuffle integrations on our website, startcomputing.com/Goodshuffle.
Thank you, Garrett. We have some questions here if you have a little bit more time to share with us.
Yeah, definitely.
So the first one was, if you wouldn't mind going back to the page where you showed the different vibes and the drop down, someone was asking about how you created a filter like that. If you wanted to give us a little bit about how you created the kind of redirect to those pages.
Yeah, so this filter by vibe is using a custom script where we're dynamically adding and removing tags on the page. So in this case, we have this page where we're pulling in products from a tag called new loot. And then we have tags associated with each of these vibes. And so when you click on minimal and bold, it's now going to require new loot and whatever the tag is that you have in Goodshuffle for minimal and in bold. And so it's basically all just a custom script that's all on the same page. It just reloads the products that are showing inside of that Goodshuffle feed. Which is something the Goodshuffle team had added, allowing us to dynamically change the products that are loading on that page.
Another thing I like about this that I hadn't noticed before is that alert at the top where it's telling people, hey, like if you're within 2 weeks, you're going to need to get the closest location. We get a lot of people who say, well, people don't understand that our tents are just a starting point and that it depends on, you know, if we have to stake them and if we have to do all of these things. And I'm constantly reminding people that there's just so many ways to do that. You can have that written in the description. You can have add-ons for them to add, but you can also have a big alert like that where it's like right in your face. Now, of course, we all understand some people that, you know, you could wave in their face and tell them something and they would never get it. You know, we can't help certain clients, but something like this is a great example where you can tell a partner like Garrett, hey, my problem is this. And since he's built hundreds of websites, I'll have suggestions of, hey, this kind of iconography really catches people's eyes and is going to increase the likelihood that they'll read the alert that pricing may vary depending on date or whatever else you want to do.
Right. And for them, it was very helpful because if the event's a month out, they can easily move the inventory between the 2 locations. But if it's within 1 or 2 weeks, then it's more limited. They have to pick what's closest to them inside that warehouse. And so we basically have a set of pages for all of them, and then a set of pages for Austin, a set of pages for Dallas. And also just helpful if they ever need to send direct links to customers, like, okay, you're in Dallas next week, here's the link, and everything's pre-filtered for Dallas for them.
Yeah, I love that. It makes it as easy as possible, makes it as dummy-proof as possible. And then when you do get someone who just ignores every single possible alert and they submit it, one of the beauties of the integration is that they're not fully checking out. That is why you have that stop and approval before you send it back, so that if you get this ridiculous request, you can say, as stated on our website, that is impossible.
Right.
But we wish you the best luck with your event. And at least you've captured that lead. Maybe you can send them a blast for a marketing blast. I love this next question because you and I were just talking about how you're doing this for a client. We have somebody who's pointing out that they actually are a little bit more technical. So they do more audiovisual rentals, things like that, which requires an expertise that most clients don't have, which we get a lot from folks who do things like audiovisual and casinos, actually, because again, it's not as intuitive. So they were asking about creating some sort of quiz, which I know you're doing for another client, where you could actually, answer a few questions and it would redirect you to a page that is going to have the items for your needs. Can you talk a little bit about how that might look?
Yeah, definitely. So you definitely need that quiz to start where you'd have your questions, and based on their answers, you would give them a score if it's like a technical type thing, if you're basically questioning like how much they know, and then if you're giving them certain products versus others. Essentially, you need to take that quiz, build it out, which would be separate from Goodshuffle, but you would build that quiz, and then you would need to set up some sort of scoring system, and then at the end, send them to the page with the Goodshuffle products on it. So basically, just you would need different pages for each result, and then use that quiz to send them to the correct one.
It could also be that if you checked certain boxes, that we then show the tags for those boxes. So I'm going to have, this size event, or I'm going to have a tech person, yes or no. And then like the tags are basically, if they have these 3 tags, then those 3 tags show up. So there's quite a few different ways to do it. But yes, absolutely. We want people to do more of these awesome things that you can do with our wish list.
Yeah, definitely. It's fun customizing it. We're doing new things with the wish list, but luckily the flexibility definitely allows finding solutions for things like that.
Yeah, there's a couple of things, it's a plugin. There's a small handful of things that are, beyond the scope of what it can do in terms of an integration, just like any integration. But more often than not, the answer is yes. And so I'm always encouraging folks to ask. I think a lot of people just are quick to assume that, oh, I probably can't create this or create this. And oftentimes the answer is yes. And especially when you work with a creative partner like Garrett, there's oftentimes a way to make it work. So always ask if you have an idea in your head, let us know. Oh, or a problem, hey, we run into this problem a lot with our current setup. Let us help you brainstorm a way that may make it easier for clients and for you. Any other questions? I'm seeing a question here about, will this be available to watch later? Yes, we are going to send out the recording of this afterward. Garrett, thank you so much for your time. It's great looking at your work. I'm really excited to be able to share it with folks and show it off. If you want to go ahead and put your website up again so folks can make sure that they have that written down, it's startcompeting.com/Goodshuffle. And people get the lovely benefit of working with a family business of you and your brother.
Yeah, definitely. And my email is here as well, just g@competenow.biz. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Love working with all rental companies and the Goodshuffle plugin. So I appreciate everyone's time and for coming.
Awesome. Thanks again, Garrett. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you. All right. Have a good rest of the week.